Sit by the fire. This is the story of Jim Bridger, one of the most legendary mountain men of the American frontier. It was March 17, 1804, in Richmond, Virginia, when a boy was born whom people would later respectfully call Major Bridger. It was an honorary title rather than a military rank, for he was never officially a major in the U.S. Army. Still a teenager, he joined William Henry Ashley's trapping expedition and headed west into a land that had yet to be fully mapped. He never attended school, never truly learned to read or write, and spoke with a rough, unpolished frontier accent. Yet he possessed a heart as vast as the mountains he called home. Honest, generous, and unmatched in his knowledge of the wilderness, he knew the Rockies as if they were the palm of his hand. He introduced emigrants and engineers to a passage through the Rocky Mountains that would later bear his name, Bridger Pass, a route that would become critically important to westward migration and the railroad. According to a famous tradition, though historians disagree on whether he was in fact the first Euro-American to see it, he was among the first white frontiersmen to lay eyes on Utah's Great Salt Lake during the winter of 1824. The years passed. He became a guide, a scout, and the eyes and ears of the Army in the vast, uncharted West. One well-known story, drawn more from memoirs than official records, tells that when the engineers of the Union Pacific Railroad found themselves stranded in Denver, unable to determine where to carry the tracks across the mountains, the old-timers said, "Send for Jim Bridger." They summoned him from St. Louis without even explaining why. 2 weeks later, the old mountain man arrived and asked what they wanted. After the engineers explained their predicament, Bridger looked at them with mild annoyance and said, "I could have told you that back in St. Louis and saved you the trouble of bringing me all this way." He then asked for a sheet of paper, picked up a piece of charcoal from the campfire, sketched a rough map, pointed toward a distant peak, and declared, "Go through here and nowhere else." Some versions of the tale claim that his hand-drawn map remained in the railroad company's archives for years afterward. But Jim Bridger was more than an extraordinary guide. He was also the unrivaled storyteller of the frontier. Most of his listeners knew perfectly well that his tales were full of jokes and exaggeration, and Bridger delighted in telling them. For amusement, he claimed there was a place in the Colorado River Valley where oranges and lemons bear fruit all year long, and the moon is always full. With a grin, he would also recount that the winter of 1830 brought so much snow that entire herds of buffalo froze solid. When spring arrived, all I had to do was throw them into the Great Salt Lake, and they'd turn into pickled buffalo, enough to feed me and the whole Ute tribe for years. These frontier yarns continued to be repeated for generations. For a time, Bridger served as the guide and companion of an Irish nobleman, Sir George Gore, who had come west on a grand hunting expedition. At night, when Sir George read aloud from Shakespeare, Bridger would frown and complain that the plays were too highfalutin. As for that fat German fellow in the stories, Falstaff, he thought the man was far too fond of beer and would have been much better off drinking good, straight bourbon whiskey. In 1856, Bridger purchased a farm near Westport, Missouri, though the call of the mountains never truly left him, and he returned to them again and again. Finally, in 1881, blind and worn by age, he died on that very farm near Independence, Missouri. And that was the story of Jim Bridger, a man who knew the mountains not from maps, but from the direction of the wind, the courses of rivers, and the memory he carried within him. Long before engineers built roads through the Rockies, he had already found the way. And long before his name became a legend, he had spent years living that legend, a legend that still seems to echo through the mountain passes of the Rockies.